with the long-time architecture and travel writer called Scottsdale home. So who better to talk some TPC Scottsdale with than Joe Passov. Joe, great of you to join us. Thanks again. I know you were here with us last year as well. This golf course is pretty central to this town. It's become very fashionable in this game of late, and we heard Rory kind of imply the same thing yesterday, that TPCs aren't all that. How does this one compare to, say, like TPC Sawgrass, TPC PGA West?
Eamon, thanks for having me. I mean, yes, the way the old course fits the town in St. Andrews, you could say the same thing about Lahinch. Yeah, TPC Scottsdale is so centrally important to this town's identity, its economy, and everything else. Okay, so if Rory called Pebble Beach a cathedral, I kind of look at TPC Scottsdale as more of a bounce house. I mean, you kind of flop around from one fun hole to the next, especially on the back nine. But yeah, it was built to host tournaments. And that was the goal that, well, Dean Beeman, Pete Dye, had with TPCs. So how does TPC Scottsdale compare with the other TPCs? Shoot, Sawgrass is the pinnacle, okay? I mean, there's hazard value and awesome stuff going on virtually every hole. Absolutely dynamic finish. But don't shortchange the back nine at TPC Scottsdale. The front nine isn't terribly memorable, but as Weiskopf stated at the beginning, it was designed and has played more difficult. The back nine, a little easier, but a lot more drama because so much can happen on so many different holes.
Let's take a look at the back nine in particular. Let's look at 11 and 12. I love how you call this a bounce house. I call it a frat house. There's a party on every hole.
This is number 11 we're looking at, Joe.
Well, number 11 is, to me, one of the most underrated par fours on the tour.
Wow.
And it's because instead of bomb and gouge, it's restraint and precision. See where the water's coming in on the left? That means you can't overcook a drive, especially with your driver, because you're going to find the water. But yet you don't want to stray to the right, you know, and wind up in the desert. Now look what's going on as you approach the green. The hardest hole location, and it makes it the hardest hole on the golf course, is far back left, behind the bunker and closest to the water. Okay, we remember in 2019, the year Ricky Fowler won the tournament, he had this disastrous 7 on this hole, a triple, and the ball just scooted over the green and into the water, and he had a trouble with the drop. But that's what I'm saying. There's trouble on both sides, and you can't just swing from the heels.
And let's take a look at the very next hole, the 12th. Again, not one of the most heralded holes on the back nine here, but it certainly takes its pound of flesh out of these guys.
Well, Eamon, in my view, this par 3 12th hole is the best par 3 on the back nine at TPC Scottsdale. Okay? What's going on with 12 is it's a medium length par 3 for these, you know, great players, 192 yards typically. But again, it's open in front. Weiskopf and Morris said, we've got municipal golfers playing here, give them some room to run it. But it's surrounded by a horseshoe of water, which means when the hole is placed all the way back, it plays as the hardest hole on the golf course, like it did in 2024. Because you don't dare attack that hole location. And, you know, consequently, you see a bunch of 3s and 3 putts that cause that hole to be so difficult.
Second hardest hole on the course last year. Of course, the majority of the people hang out at 15, 16, 17. It's where the most noise is, but there's also a lot of risk and reward. Let's start with the par 5 15th hole, because there's just a lot that can go right, but also a lot that can go wrong.
Well, maybe 20 years ago, the yardage had been 501, and then it just became ridiculously easy. So they scoped out another tee box way back, 553. But again, you're going to see the problem, restraint and precision, not bomb and gouge. See how the water comes out on the left? So that's what's going on, is if you overcook a draw, you're going to find the water. Jordan Spieth calls the 15th his favorite hole here, but it cost him dearly in 2021 because he knocked it into the water off the tee. So what happens then? Okay, island greens are a little more routine these days. They have shorter clubs coming in than they once did, but the green itself is a little tricky. Clear the water, don't hit it too far, but the back of the green has a little bit of a ridge, almost a shelf. And in the back left of that green, it actually comes left to right. So you think you've got a relatively easy birdie putt, but it's so slow, or even an eagle. By the same token, when the hole was cut back right, it's really quick, and it can get away from you. Easiest hole location is front left. That's where they set it on Sunday, and that's where we can see at least the most eagles and the lowest scores.
Let's take a look at 16, where we are sitting right now. And this may be one of those holes, Joe, where there's a great debate. Is it the atmosphere of the Coliseum that these guys are in, or is it the actual strategy of the hole? And we don't often hear much about the strategy of this hole. We hear an awful lot about the atmosphere, but we take our live drone shot in here now coming from the tee box. What do we need to know about 16?
16 is, as 17 will be, is all about the hole location. Also, they have the option of moving the tee box up one day, which they do typically on Saturday. So the hole only plays about 123. But if you set the hole back of the green, it's very much like Augusta's 16th. When they put the flag and the hole back right, like they often do on Saturday, it's kind of boring. It's sitting up on that shelf, and you don't see many birdies. You're just kind of two-putting from 20 and 30 feet. So here it is, the same thing at TPC Scottsdale. When the hole is cut middle or kind of front middle, it's gettable. You have a little shelf in the middle of the green and get some spin off that, and you got a lot of birdie putts and a chance at a hole-in-one. Put it back of the green or back right closer to that back bunker, and you're just looking at a bunch of threes, and it's not as exciting. So if you're coming on a Friday when the pin is back, yeah, don't expect a lot of excitement.
Oh, so many great moments, though. Tiger Woods, you think of James Hahn, you think of Harry Higgs, Joel Damon, and this hole has just gotten bigger and bigger and louder through the years. So you leave the par 3 16th, and you head over to what some call the best drivable short par 4 in all of golf. I'm, of course, talking about the 17th, where Brooks Koepka pitched in for eagle, where we've had the likes of Sahith Theegala and Ricky Fowler have their heart broken. What stands out to you, Joe, about this hole?
Well, Tom Weiskopf said it when he designed it. It's his favorite of all the 71 drivable par 4s that he ever did, because there's so many different ways to play it. That middle bunker you see there is not going to come into play for the pros. It once did, but no longer. So now what's going on is where the hole location is on the green. And the green is shaped like one of those foam fingers you see at sporting events. And most of the time on Sunday, it is back in the tip of that finger closest to the water. That's where things just get fantastic for this hole. Why I think it's even better than Riviera's 10th, because there's so many more possibilities here. The bailout is obviously short if you do it, but what can happen is if you hit it a little too far, as Sahith, well, there you go. Sahith Theegala did that a couple of years ago, and it hit a downslope and cascaded into the water. You can also pull the ball left and find the water, as Ricky Fowler did. Spieth did that. So it is all about the hole location, and that's what makes it so much fun.
And it's only Monday, and it's already loud. Now listen, Joe, does the party atmosphere at all, which we love, and we love being here, does it obscure a little bit kind of the greatness of the bones of this golf course? Because when someone thinks of the WM, thinks of, oh, that's the big party, the greatest show on grass. But in terms of just the nuts and bolts of the golf course,
it's understandable how the party atmosphere definitely obscures some of the really good architecture.
Okay.
But what you want as a viewer, as a spectator at a PGA Tour event, is some excitement down the stretch. It's not the U.S. Open. You want those possibilities of eagles and birdies and maybe some disasters, and you get them down the stretch here.